Good morning. This is the Marriage Hut and the Relationship Hut, powered by Family Colors. So, again, here I'm with Christy, and she has a very critical question. So, let's hear it.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, there is this saying that the men's brain and the women's brain are different. So, what are those differences?
Okay, that's good. Thank you so much for this question. The men's brain and the women's brain. It's something, a study that has not yet been concluded. I hope that, on this side of eternity, that we'll be able to conclude talking about the differences. Now, let's talk about the men's brain. Let me say something before I delve deeply, that one of the major causes of problems, conflicts in marriages is the fact of the differences in the men's brain and the women's brain. The way the sexes think is a major issue. But today I'll try to put my hand on a little part of this. First of all, we are told that the men reason more from the left side of their brain. So they are left-sided people. But the women reason more from the right side of their brain. The men, they say, are logical. In other words, 1 plus 1 must necessarily be 2. The women are intuitive. In other words, 1 plus 1 could be 1. 1 plus 1 could be 0. 1 plus 1 could be any number from now till infinity. And that's the way it works. It's just for the two of them to understand that this is the machinery, this is the advantage that God has placed in that marriage, and begin to use it well. Now, going deeply to the men's brain. Men, we are told, think in boxes. In the men's brain, they have different boxes for different things. When they finish thinking about the computer, they will come out from that box and think about the food. And then they will go and think about the fuel. So, and that's the way a man typically thinks. The boxes are separate, they are not interconnected, and they don't have too much storage. That's why they don't have so much memories, whereby you tell them, what happened the day you proposed to me? Can't you remember the dress you're wearing? The man will be looking at you like, how am I going to remember the dress I was wearing when I proposed to you 30-something years ago? So, but the woman can remember that. Okay, let's keep going on the men's brain. The men have a box that is called a do-nothing box. In that box, they can actually stay in that box and do nothing for hours. The women have no such box. And of course, men actually hold from thinking. A man can say, let me stop thinking. And he's not thinking. I'm not sure that any woman can do that. Now, the men find it difficult to multitask. Because they think in boxes, like, let's do this before we do. So if you want them to now begin to discuss all this, it's difficult. So the men prefer, let's finish this before this. I hope the women are listening. Let's look at the women's brain. The women's brain has been described as the internet superhighway. It's interconnected. The wires are all connected. One thing leads to another, another leads to another, another leads to another, and the women can actually multitask, and they can be holding conversation about 5 different things, and they will be very efficient in that. Interconnecting that this is where I left this one, this is where I left this one, and all that. The woman will prefer, let's discuss all of them together. But the man will prefer, let's discuss this, after that we'll get to another one. So these are the differences between the men and the women brain. Now, these two people are living together and they have conflicts. They are living together and they have conflicts. What are those points of conflict? One of them is memory. The women have exceptional memory. Average woman has an an exceptional memory. She can remember and remember and remember. And oftentimes when they are discussing with their husbands and they remember so many things, it casts aspersion on the man. And the man will be wondering, is there something wrong with my head? No, there's nothing wrong with your brain, no. It's just that the woman has, and you can use it to your own advantage to help her be the memory bank of the family rather than quarreling about it. And then the woman should not be insulting the man or be casting aspersion on him because he didn't remember this. Now, another point is detail. Point of conflict, detail. Sometimes, the woman is made for details, full details, and she demands the details and she wants to give the details. But the man is not meant for detail. He doesn't demand for details, but sometimes he receives detail. And then there's a demand that is placed on him for details and he doesn't have it. Those are points of conflict. But I believe that it is for the two of them to understand what's happening to them and come to the middle and be able to help themselves. Use the advantage of one person to help the other person. The other thing is multiple discussions. When they are holding discussions, it's like the woman will want to bring so many things. We have not finished this one, and they are bringing, and that could infuriate the man. And then also going from one point to the other can also infuriate the woman. But I tell you, guys, that's the way your brain functions. And you've got to live in the same house with one direction, so you have to apply understanding and compromise. Then, of course, relating one thing to another while discussing. You can be discussing together, and then somebody has talked about this shirt you're wearing, and then at another point, there's a reference to it. And then the woman will expect you, the man, to remember that she talked about this shirt she's wearing. And the man can't even remember, can't relate it. And it becomes a point of conflict. It doesn't have to be. Especially when two of you apply understanding and apply compromise. And then, of course, we said that men are logical. Men are logical. You can't remove it. The man is objective, like they put it, and the women are subjective. And it's not from a negative side. My advice is that when you find yourself in a family where you have a target, a goal, declare all your assets and speak to yourself so that you'll be able to avoid the pitfalls around that and be able to navigate well and use all the advantages that God has placed in you to be able to succeed. If you don't do that, you find yourself quarreling. Let me outrightly say that clearly a man who forms the habit of when people come to borrow money from him or want to come to discuss certain uncanny businesses, says, I will discuss with my wife. That man is most likely not to be scammed, because apart from the time you give to think again about it, when you are discussing with your wife, the loopholes of that business will come out because she's an intuitive person and you are a logical person. So let's utilize this advantage that God has placed in families to be able to produce 5-star families. This is the Marriage Hut and the Relationship Hut, powered by Family Colors.